Welcome. It's nice to have you here. And today I'm going to share with you one of the most important, most powerful, and probably the most misunderstood uh, practical things that you can do and probably should do in your life regularly and get better at so that everything in your life can be better. So, like I say, it's really one of the most important, I'd say it's foundational. It's a fundamental skill that we all will benefit from learning and developing. And it's kind of, in a way, I guess, surprising that it's not better understood or taught more widely because it's such a foundational thing. Far more important than reading and writing and arithmetic and all those kinds of things. In fact, probably more important than brushing your teeth. Um, it's very important. And also, as I say, it's very misunderstood. And because it's misunderstood, I want to take some time to clarify how you can use it intelligently. Because it's one of those things that some people know about, but then because they have a misunderstanding or misunderstandings about it, they don't use it in the most skillful means, and so they don't get the optimal results. In fact, one of the difficulties with it is that it's like a knife in that it's very powerful, but if you don't use it in the right way, it can be somewhat dangerous. And so having the proper knowledge of how to work with it to avoid the possible dangers and pitfalls is really important. So you're probably curious what on earth it is that I'm going to be talking about, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, I want to give you the context so that you can understand what is the purpose of the talk, what's in it for you, why would you want to be here. So the point is that your life can be really beautiful. Your life can be wonderful at all levels. And indeed it should be. That is the point. You should be truly in love. Truly in love. That's the possibility. And maybe you don't have a good frame of reference to know what that love really is. But your life could be absolute love. That's a real possibility, and it could be really wonderful. What that means is that there could be an absence of the strife, the worry, the discord, the fear, the anxiety, the distress, all those kinds of things, the anger, the jealousy, the hostility, the all of that stuff, the resentment, the guilt, the shame. It's possible for all of that to be cast aside and to live a life that is really, truly beautiful, fulfilling, purposeful, joyful, abundant. So that's what is possible. And that's the context of the talk that I'm about to share with you, or I guess the talk that I'm talking right now. And here, I'm very interested in practical things. So inspiration is useful. I won't deny it. There's a value in inspiration, but inspiration by itself is not sufficient. We need to actually know how to put it into practice to get the results in our life. Just hearing all of the inspirational case studies of everybody else who's gotten the results is not sufficient. You need to know how to do it for yourself so that you can consistently get those results in your life. And that's what I'm mostly interested in, is giving the practical how-to so that you can get those results, because I promise you that it is absolutely possible. A lot of the time, we're starting from a place in our lives where we can feel overwhelmed by all of the things that I mentioned a moment ago, the distress, the worry, the fear, anxiety, and all that kind of stuff. all the guilt and the resentments and all of that stuff can seem overwhelming, and we don't even know where to begin. And therefore, we can sometimes fall into a cynicism and think, oh, well, it's not really possible to actually live a joyful, abundant, free, happy, peaceful life. That's just airy-fairy kind of stuff. That's not real. And then we look around and we say, yeah, nobody else actually seems to be experiencing that either. So that's all just a lie. But I promise you that that's the lie. It really truly is possible to live the life that you know deep down in your heart that you're here to live. And we all know, actually, on some level, that that's what we're here to live. Otherwise, we wouldn't long for it. But it's just that cynicism that takes over that tells us that it's not possible, that nobody experiences that, and therefore it's not possible for you. But that's just because the knowledge is not widely taught. That's all. It's absolutely possible. It's just that most people are ignorant. And I say ignorant not as an insult, it's just the truth. Most people are ignorant. I have been ignorant most of my life as well. But that ignorance is not a permanent thing. That ignorance is just a state that we find ourselves in, and we can correct that through the right knowledge. So we just need to know how to do it. It's the difference of giving a man a fish and teaching a man to fish. So I'm very interested in metaphorically teaching how to fish, because then you can have the confidence that you can get the results for yourself, that you don't need to go to some kind of event to get the healing. It's not something that happens by chance. It's something that you can do on your own through your own knowledge, because you've gained that knowledge and the skills. So that's what's available. So then just another larger context before I get to the meat and potatoes of the talk, because otherwise it wouldn't make as much sense. So I want to provide that larger context. So if you've been here before, then you've maybe heard me talk about this business of top up and bottom down, top down and bottom up. And if you haven't, then I'll clarify what I'm talking about there. So in our lives, we are a totality, right? So you are the whole you, not just a partial you. You're the whole you. And so we could say there are parts of you that are higher and parts of you that are lower. This all just however you understand that, but you're the total you. And so when I talk about top down, what I'm talking about is that there's a possibility of having experiences of yourself as a transcendent higher self. This happens to people sometimes. It happens through meditation, or it happens through being in nature, or it happens through taking psychedelics, or it happens listening to music, or it happens going to some kind of retreat, or it happens through all kinds of different possibilities, or it just happens spontaneously. And so that experience of yourself as a transcendent self, or perhaps as oneness, is what I'm referring to as a top down. And it's very powerful. It's very necessary. It's very important, because otherwise we tend to get trapped in a perception of ourselves as something lower and separate. And I'm using the terms higher and lower and oneness and separate, not to mean good or bad, but just to describe these different states that we have capacity for. So again, we're the totality. Each of us is a totality. We're not limited to any one state or any one level of consciousness. Like I'm sure if you look at your own life, you can see that sometimes you might get pigeonholed by certain people, certain groups, where you're seen only as in a limited sense of yourself, where you're only supposed to, according to this group or these people, you're only supposed to behave in certain ways, or perceive in certain ways, or think in certain ways, or act in certain ways. But you know that that's not the total truth of who you are. You know that you have greater potential than that. And so if you find yourself in those kinds of situations or relationships, you might feel kind of stifled, because again, you know that you're not limited to that. that might be an aspect of yourself. It might be something that you have done from time to time. It might be something from your past that you used to be in the habit of, but it's not the totality of you. And so that's what I'm saying, that you're the totality, not just some part of yourself. You're the totality. That's what I'm pointing to. So we all have this capacity for, it's infinite capacity, really. We have capacity for very high and very low, for very, oneness and separation. And at the level of separation, we have an enormous diversity of possibility. We can be good, we can be bad, we can be nice, we can be evil, we can be smart, we can be stupid. So we have an enormous range of potential. And we really are that totality. So at that highest level, that transcendent level, that level of oneness, we all have that capacity. It exists for all of us. Some of us have realized that, and some of us have not. Then when I talk about bottom up, I'm talking about from the level of separation. We want to improve our condition. So that's very normal. Everybody more or less wants to improve their condition when they perceive that they're separate. Then they desire to improve that. And how a person goes about or thinks about improvement is going to vary from person to person and moment to moment. But I'm just pointing out, it's very normal. So people will aspire to have more money or better living conditions, or to have more knowledge, or to have better relationships, better health. So that's a bottom-up approach. And of course, in all of these things, we can have more or less skillful means. So for example, from a bottom-up approach, a person could say, I want more money, and I'm going to get that money by robbing other people. So it might work, but probably not the best way to go about it. On the other hand, other people might have a better, more functional approach to that, one that's more harmonious and skillful. Similar with top down. So top down, we could say some people only know how to experience top down through the use of drugs, for example. Not really the most functional, not the best approach. Some people know how to, or have learned to cultivate that through other means that are more sustainable, that have less liability. So that's a more skillful approach. Okay. So at this point, I'm just kind of laying the groundwork, okay, to provide the context for what I'm going to get to in a moment. So I have proposed that an integrated approach of both top down and bottom up is more useful than either one on its own. So, and apparently some people have misunderstood this, because I've had this reflected back to me, which is why I say apparently some people have misunderstood this, because some people have reflected back to me that they've understood that I've been denigrating the top-down approach, which is not true. I don't believe that I've said that. Because again, both are valuable. But what I see is that oftentimes one approach is promoted at the expense of the other, or at the exclusion of the other. And so in some types of spirituality, the top-down approach is promoted as the one way. And self-improvement is, in those contexts, is viewed as in a negative light. So I have spoken about my own experiences of that, and I've suggested, and I'll suggest now, that I don't think that's healthy. I think that backfires. I think it has some negative consequences. And what that looks like is that a person believes, or is led to believe, that the only solution to their problems in life is just to have oneness experiences. So they're told, just go on Vipassana retreats. If you go on enough Vipassana retreats, then that will solve everything for you. And I'm sure that the Vipassana retreat can be valuable. I haven't said otherwise. But the problem is that it usually does not lead to, it's usually not well integrated into the rest of the person's life. So there may be experiences of oneness, transcendent experiences that can occur through these top-down approaches. But if they're not balanced and integrated into the rest of the life, then they can, and it's certainly in my experience, what they did was they led to a higher contrast experience that was very painful and led to a lot of dysfunction in my own personal experience. Okay, so I became increasingly dysfunctional the more of the oneness experiences that I had that were not integrated, they were unbalanced. And that's why I caution against that top-down approach if it's exclusively top-down. Similarly, an exclusively bottom-up approach has many challenges. Now, if it's done in a very skillful way, which is rare, then it can be very successful. But it's very difficult for it to be done in a good way if it's exclusively bottom up, because you don't have a good view of the whole territory to be able to know skillfully what are you even doing. Okay, so think about it. In the classic analogy is that of a mountain. Okay, so think about that for a moment. If you have this image of a mountain in your mind, so you are the totality of the mountain, let's say. Okay, so the goal is not just to reach the top of the mountain. The goal is to know that you are that totality. Well, in order to achieve this, so most of us start out at the base of the mountain. We don't know, we're ignorant of the fact that I am the totality of the mountain. We're thinking I am this little thing, this little ant down at the bottom of the mountain, and that's all I am. And I just really wish that I had a slightly more comfortable experience. So we're trying, and we think, oh, if I was higher up on the mountain, it would be more comfortable. It's so miserable down here. I just need to be higher up on the mountain. So we try to climb up the mountain. Well, the difficulty with that is that you don't know anything about this mountain. So you don't know anything about the path that you're ascending on. You don't know if that's good or not. You might be going right directly into the worst conditions. Maybe on this mountain, they're just, sheer cliffs, and they're tigers and all kinds of dangerous things. And you might be going right into that. Your path might go directly into that. You don't know because you don't have the view to see that. So from the top, though, you have a better view. From the top, you can see the territory better. So if you could get up on top, then you could see better, and then you'd have a better sense of, oh, that's where I want to come from and I want to ascend. So that would be a good path there. So the point here is that having a balance of top down and bottom up is a good synergy, because then from the top, you have a better perspective. And from the bottom, you have the ability to actually integrate that perspective, that higher perspective, so that you can get practical results. So that's the context. I am a believer in and an advocate of a balanced approach where you have both, and that you practice. There are practices that you can do on a daily basis that can be simple and sustainable. It's not require hours and hours of your day. Just a few minutes every day can have an enormous positive impact on your life over a period of time. Think about if you brush your teeth every day, it doesn't take you hours and hours, hopefully, but you reap the benefits of that, just a few minutes a day, and you get the long-term benefits. So it's similar. You don't have to sit in meditation for hours every day to get the benefits. And most people won't. So we have to be realistic about that. If you're not going to be able to do that, and by the way, you have to also be able to integrate that, and most people can't. So then it's much better just to have a simple practice that you can do every day that just takes a few minutes, because then it's something that you will do every day. Therefore, you will get the benefits. You'll get better at it over time, which will give you confidence. It will give you more self-knowledge, more self-awareness. It'll help you to integrate your life. Everything will get better. So that's the approach that I recommend. Okay. Hopefully that's somewhat clear. So now, what is the topic? So the topic is that there is a foundational skill that will greatly benefit your life, and you need to have the right knowledge of how to practice it, um, and how to do it in a balanced way with the right understanding so that you can get the good results. And so I'm going to tell you in just one moment what it is, but I want to warn you that some of you are going to be tempted to think, as soon as I say what it is, you're going to be tempted to think that you already know everything about it. And please don't do that to yourself. Because if you think that you already know everything about it, then you're not going to be in a position to actually receive something, and then you won't be able to benefit. So just be willing to accept that maybe you don't already know everything about it. Then maybe you can benefit. So here's what it is. That foundational skill is letting go. So letting go is the foundational skill that helps you with almost everything. For those who were here last week or who listened to the talk from last week, then you may recall that in that talk, I covered 2 practical exercises that can greatly benefit everybody's life. One of them is a daily practice of invoking divine protection. And the second practice is a daily practice of releasing negative energy cords, or more broadly, any energy cords that you have formed with people, places, or events that are not for your greatest good. And if none of that makes any sense to you, then you can go watch the video and then it will make sense to you. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because letting go is the foundational skill that will help you to get the most of both of those practices. It's the basis of those practices. So if you don't know how to let go effectively, you won't be able to get maximum benefits from those practices. But letting go has many other practical applications and benefits. I'm not even going to attempt to give you all of them because we'd be here all day. But I can see if I can think of a few others. So here are some that come to mind. So if you experience pain, could be physical pain, emotional pain, any kind of pain, psychological pain, that pain is something that you are doing. Most people don't realize this, right? They don't realize that the pain that they experience is something that they are doing. If you were to think about it for a moment, it would be actually quite clear that it has to be something you're doing. But most of us don't actually investigate enough to realize that that's true. But it is true that any pain that you experience is something that you're doing. You're probably doing it unconsciously, but you're doing it nonetheless. Now, by definition, if you're doing something, the doing is an action. The doing requires some effort. So if you don't like the result of the thing that you're doing, it only follows then that you would benefit from not doing it, right? It has to be the case. So if you're experiencing pain, physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, spiritual pain, any kind of pain, then and it's something that you're doing, then you will benefit from not doing that thing. Well, how will you not do the thing? And the answer is let go. And I'm going to explain, hopefully, how to actually let go in a moment. But I just want to, first of all, explain what are some of the benefits so that you can understand how this can actually help you in your life. So it's going to help you with forgiveness. It's going to help you to disconnect negative energy cords. It's going to help you to experience safety and protection in your life. It's going to help you to release pain from your life. So obviously, other things that I might say might be other ways of saying similar things, but think about also if you experience, if you have anger problems, so you're doing the anger. Anger is not something that happens to you. Anger is something you do. If you don't like the results of that, and who does? I mean, you can't really like the effects of anger because it's entirely damaging. So then wouldn't it be nice not to do that to yourself? And you can stop doing that to yourself by learning to let go. So it's a very, very helpful skill. It will help you to stop all types of self-harm, whether that's anger, resentment, fear, as I already hinted at a moment ago. Um, okay, but also learning to let go will help you if you want to manifest things in your life. Because, and I'm sure that you've experienced this before in your life, when the more that you are uh, attached to something, the more you're attached to an outcome, the more you push it away, right? Because that neediness is a very unattractive energy. So it pushes away the thing that you're clinging to. So what's the answer to that? Letting go. I mean, I think that many people have heard that. If you haven't, then this will be news to you. But letting go of attachment is a very powerful way to get to manifest things in your life. So first you have to have clarity of what you want. That's essential. But if you don't have clarity of what, because if you don't have clarity of what you want, then you can't actually uh, know that you wouldn't even recognize it if it happened. So you have to have clarity of what you want first, but then you have to release the attachment so that it can manifest. Because again, another way of looking at that is if something manifests, but you have too much attachment to it, then what that will generate is fear of the possibility of loss. And therefore you can't enjoy it. So you'll end up sabotaging it. So the learning to let go is, as I've said, it's a foundational skill. It helps in every area of your life. It's going to improve your health, improve your relationships, improve your finances, improves your well-being in all ways. So letting go is, from my perspective, letting go is really also, I could say, the foundational skill for all top-down approaches. So it's really how to meditate. Meditation is letting go. And I see there's a question, and I'll get to the questions later on, but I do acknowledge that there's a question. So, so letting go is, in the way that I think of it, letting go is the essence of meditation. Because what is meditation? Meditation is learning to detach from the limited identification. So again, if we view the pyramid, okay, so the identification at the base of the pyramid is identification with differentiation, identification with separation. And that's painful because it's limited. It's painful because I'm longing for something, but I'm limiting myself from being able to access it. So learning to let go allows me that transcendent experience. So letting go is the foundation of meditation. It's the foundation of the top-down approach. Hence my caution that if you don't know how to use it appropriately in a balanced way, then it can cause you some difficulty. Because certainly, maybe from the way that I was presenting it a moment ago, it sounds like letting go is the one answer to everything. And there's some truth to that. But again, the problem is that in practice, it doesn't work if that's all that you do. And I'll get to some of the pitfalls and how to address those in a moment. But first of all, before I get to that, I want to talk about how to let go. Because a lot of the time, people will say to me, that they understand, or they think they understand the benefits of letting go. They've heard about letting go. They've maybe even experienced letting go and experienced the benefits of it, but they don't know how to do it. So maybe you've experienced that in your life where you sort of spontaneously let go and you experience the benefits of that in that moment, at least, right? So that would be like what I was describing earlier, these top-down experiences where maybe you're in nature and you're all of a sudden in awe, and all of the, your sense of separation and sense of self drops away and there's just oneness. Or you take some psychedelic substance and you have some kind of oneness experience, or you have through meditation, whatever, some technique or just spontaneously, you have this experience of letting go and you experience, wow, this is so wonderful. If only I could always be like this. If only my mind wasn't always bothering me, but here it has fallen away. Isn't this wonderful? So if you've experienced that, then you know the benefits, but then again, most people don't know how to repeat that. They don't know how to develop that skill of letting go. And they also tend to overcomplicate it. So even if a person has developed a, 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 a skill with a particular technique that allows them to do that, like a meditation technique, as useful and powerful as that can be, the problem is if they don't know how to translate that into the rest of their life, then they've overcomplicated things and they say, oh, I can only experience that. I can only let go when I'm sitting on my cushion and doing my practice. But then they don't know how to translate that into the rest of their life. So that's problematic. So the way that I see it and what I want to share with you is that letting go it's not actually that complicated. It's really just about letting go, which everybody has some experience of, but then we just have to uh, apply that across different contexts in our lives so that we can familiarize ourselves with our ability to let go in different situations. So if you took something in your hand and you know, gripped it in your hand, and then I said, okay, now let it go, you could probably let it go, right? You could just drop it. So we all know how to do that actually. But then if you say, well, I'm really bothered by something in my life. My my lover left me, and I'm I'm just not able to let go. Then or I'm really worried about my financial situation, and I don't seem to be able to let go. Then what's happened is you haven't made the connection to see that you actually already have the fundamental skill that you can apply to everything else. So notice that whatever it is that you think that you can't let go of, you can actually let go of it. And we all can let go, but we maybe are not skilled at it. So, because we have a habit of latching on, we have a habit of holding on, we have a habit of gripping. And so it's as though you've got something in your hand and we're doing this exercise together, and I say, okay, great, you've got the thing in your hand, you're gripping it, now let it go. And you say, I don't know how. Well, nonsense, you know how. You say, no, I don't know how. And I say, you certainly can. No, I don't know how. Well, we could work through that until you get to a point where you say, well, okay, I guess I can. And you demonstrate that to yourself. You do this like this. You release the thing. But then you, out of habit, you grip again. And then you're going to tell me that didn't work. Nonsense. It worked absolutely perfectly. You let go. All that happened is you gripped again. So this is what we're doing. I've seen this over and over and over, both in my own experience and in working with other people. I see that this is the fundamental thing is first of all, we tell ourselves that we don't know how to let go, which is nonsense. We do know how to let go. And then we continue that line of thinking, which is unhelpful, when we demonstrate that we can let go, but then we grip again and we say, it didn't work. It did work. You were able to let go. You just gripped again. So what's actually going on here? What's going on is that you have a habit of gripping. And that habit of gripping is the opposite of letting go, right? The gripping and letting go are opposites of one another. You can't grip and let go at the same time. You can't let go and grip at the same time. You can only do one or the other because they're opposites of one another. So necessarily, if you've overdeveloped the skill of gripping or holding on, then you've probably atrophied in your competence or your confidence with letting go. Doesn't mean you can't let go. It just means that you've atrophied. You've gotten better at, overdeveloped gripping. And so you say, I don't know how to let go. But you know how to let go. It's just when you're not gripping, but you've just forgotten that you don't have to grip all the time because you're just really good at gripping because you've been practicing it. And we all do this because we all have things where we've learned to grip. And we learned to grip because we learned that that was the only way. It's never true, but it's just something that we learned because something happened at some point and we gripped, and then something in our brain said, this is the only way. And then we just believe it. And then we just keep repeating that unconsciously or consciously. And then it becomes, we believe that it's true as a result of that. And we organize unconsciously, usually our whole life around that to demonstrate to ourselves the truth that I can't let go. But it's not actually true. It's just that that's repeated so often. It's a habit. And we've organized everything to reflect that so that then we believe our own story that I can't let go. But all you have to do is demonstrate to yourself that you actually can let go just for a split second. And so this is often when I'm coaching people, this is the basic thing that I go through with people is coach people to get to a point where they realize that they can let go. And you don't even have to let go all the way. All you have to do is just let go a little bit. Right. So I was using the example that of a closed fist and then letting go being an open fist, but it doesn't even have to be a completely open fist. It could just be not quite as tight of a fist, because then you demonstrate to yourself, you actually have that capacity. It actually exists within you. You can do it. And once you've established that for yourself, then you can grow that through practice. So I've used this example before. I'm going to use it now. And it will work for you if you've ever had the experience of learning to ride a bicycle without hands on the handlebars. If you've not had that experience, it won't work so well for you. But many people have had that experience. And so if you've had that experience, then you may recall that for most of us, we learn to ride the bicycle gripping the handlebars. And so we associate that gripping of the handlebars with the way to ride a bicycle. And then it will seem to us at first that not gripping the handlebars is an impossibility. But if we get the idea that maybe we could not grip the handlebars, then we can start to explore that possibility. And if you're a particularly bold sort of person, you might just straight away just take your hands off the handlebars. But most of us are not quite that bold. So we're playful about it. We just loosen the grip. And so that's the kind of approach that I'm proposing, is that you just learn to loosen the grip a little bit on those things that you're so accustomed to gripping. And through doing that, you train yourself that you actually can do that you don't have to grip so tightly all the time. And then bit by bit, you gain confidence that you don't have to grip at all. And then because not gripping, in other words, letting go, feels so much better once you've gotten accustomed to it, then pretty soon you stop gripping so reflexively. At first, because the habit of gripping is so tightly associated with safety, then it takes a little bit of practice before you can undo that conditioning, that association. Because again, at first, the habit of gripping is tightly associated with safety. So in your brain, gripping equals safety, or letting go equals not safe. And so you have to usually train yourself slowly, bit by bit, that that's not actually true. That you can, and you do that just by repetition. As you release that grip, you soften the grip, then you learn through that repetition that you're actually safe when you don't. And then when that association is broken, then you're freed up to actually start to tell the truth, which is, gee, I feel better when I'm not gripping. Why? Because gripping requires an awful lot of effort, and it's draining my energy into things that I don't want in my life. So as I learn to release that, I feel better. I have more energy. I'm more optimistic, more positive, happier, freer. Everything in my life is starting to work better. So it's just a matter of practice, just repetition. And usually I find that it's better just to do that slowly, gently, and persistently. That's why I tell people, if you're like with the exercise of cutting negative energy cords, just you don't have to let it go all the way the first time, just a little bit. Don't push yourself, because that might be too stressful. You have a habit of forming these energy cords, and in your brain, that habit is going to be associated with safety. It might be insane, but nonetheless, that's the association that's made in the brain. And so if you're too aggressive or forceful in the process of trying to sever that, it might backfire. But what you can do is slowly, repeatedly soften and release that habit of gripping. And then eventually, and it usually doesn't take that long, when that association of safety with gripping is weakened sufficiently, then all of a sudden you start to realize, gee, I feel better. And once that is realized, then naturally you'll start to have more awareness of when you're doing the gripping, when you're even starting to grip, and you'll be more likely to release it. So then your whole life gets better. So hopefully that makes sense. That what I'm suggesting is that this skill of letting go is one of the most foundational skills that we can develop, that it improves everything in life, and that we all can practice it and get better at it. And so we can take, and we can use this example of actual physical gripping, because in a sense it's all physical gripping, but an obvious physical gripping, to demonstrate to ourselves that I have the ability to let go. I can grip with my hand and I can let go. I actually have that ability. And that I'm basically doing the same thing in other domains of my life. And I just say that it's different because I say, oh, it's emotional, it's mental, it's psychological. But actually, it's all the same basic process of gripping, attaching, holding on. And the letting go is always not doing that. So it's the opposite of the gripping. I'm doing the gripping, so for sure I can let go. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. I'm gripping, therefore I can let go. It's absolutely certain. There's no way that it could be otherwise. You're gripping, therefore you can let go. But in order to get good at that, you have to practice. And so because our brains tell us that I'm not good at it or I can't, then that's our experience. But when we accept that I can, I just have to train myself through practice, through repetition, then as long as we are sincere and we follow up on that, we will get better at that skill of letting go. And so I'm just recommending that you practice that regularly with anything that you notice that you have a habit of gripping with. So you can do that with the negative energy cord work. You can do that with the invocation of divine protection, because that invocation of divine protection is to allow you the context within yourself so that you can let go, so that you can feel that sense of safety. That's how that works, is you're choosing, I am protected, I am safe. And then at least in this moment, when you're actually invoking that, forget about the rest of the time. I mean, deal with that then. But for now, in this moment, if you're sitting alone in your own bedroom and you can look around and you can say, look, no, there's no actual obvious threat right now. So I actually am, as far as I can tell, safe. So I'm invoking this divine protection and I'm choosing to let go in this moment and feel that safety. So you can practice with these practices or with anything else, however you want to do it. But practice, I'm suggesting practice daily, letting go so that you can develop that skill. And you can practice that if you feel that that you silo different areas of your life. Like if you say, well, my emotional life is different than my psychological life. I don't know how you would do that, but if you thought that that was true, some people do that. Then you could practice letting go in those different areas of your life. So I would recommend that you could choose one thing that you're gripping or holding on to in your life in that domain. So let's say it's a psychological thing. So you say, I'm very, uh, I can't let go of this thought. Well, then just practice letting go of that thought. You can let go of the thought right now. You might grab onto it again half a second later, but you could let go of it right now. And maybe you say, I can't let go of it all the way. Okay, but you could let go of it, what, 5%? Could you do that? Because you just have to practice. If you keep making excuses, then you won't get better at it because you won't practice. But if you stop making excuses and you practice, you'll get better at it. So just choose the things that you struggle with, that you notice that you're gripping, and then practice each day letting go. And I promise you, you'll get better. It's just a law. I mean, you see that that works with everything. If you practice, you'll get better. I can't tell you how much better you'll get, how quickly, but for sure you'll get better. So just practice every day. So, as I say, when you do that, it will improve everything in your life. However, as I've also said, there are some uh, caveats. So, because um, because as powerful as letting go is, one of and I think this is probably the biggest danger, is that it can be viewed as a one size fits all. And it certainly has its place and is beneficial for most things, but it can be taken too far. Because what letting go reveals ultimately is the fundamental okayness. Okay, so when you let go sufficiently, then what's revealed is fundamental okayness. If that's not clear to you, then practice, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. It as you practice letting go, you'll get glimpses and then extended glimpses of fundamental okayness. You will realize that is the truth. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the challenge is this, and this is what I've said many times, is that that becomes then uh, fundamentally just a top-down approach. And then it's not necessarily well integrated into the rest of the life. So letting go is very important, but then that letting go can and should reveal through your intuition practical steps that can be taken from a bottom up approach to improve things. So there are times when the complete answer is letting go. Okay, that's absolutely true. Sometimes the complete answer is letting go. And I've said this before. So if, like I say, if you have a desire and that desire is not actually yours because it was borrowed from your friend or your spouse or the television or whatever, then letting go is the best and complete answer. There's nothing else that's needed in that case. You just let go, let go, let go. And then when it's clear that you've completely let it go and you're happier, nothing else needs to be done there. So that's the total answer, is letting go in that situation. But uh, there are other times when letting go is not the total answer. So let's say that you're married and you're intending to stay married, then letting go is very important. But letting go is not the total answer, because if you just keep letting go, uh, unless you have a very, very special spouse, which does sometimes happen. But for the rest of us, uh, that's not the complete answer, because there are some practical things that need to be done in that relationship that can be revealed through letting go, but still the steps need to be taken. Because if all you do is let's take finances. Okay, so you could just let go, let go, let go, let go. And that's fine. It's good. It's important. But if you actually want to have finances, you might find that it's also valuable to take some steps. The thing is that if this normally we just try to take the steps without that higher level knowledge, which letting go will offer us. So if we're trying to take the steps without the higher level knowledge, what are the chances that we'll be very successful? And the answer to that is not very likely. And we should know that already, because we've been there, done that. All of us, we've been around that many times, trying to fix the problem with that limited knowledge, just repeating the same thing over and over and over. And of course, we get the same results. So the higher level knowledge is necessary in order to be able to make the change, but you then have to actually integrate that by taking the steps. So hopefully that's clear how that works. So if the complete answer is letting go, then you let go, and it becomes clear that's the complete answer, because everything is very wonderful on all accounts. You don't have anybody, your spouse is not saying, what's wrong with you? Why are you not speaking to me? And you're not feeling stressed because your finances are going in the toilet because you're not taking any action. But if you're having, on the other hand, if you let go and then there's something that comes to you that says, now take these steps, and you refuse to take those steps, then you're lying to yourself. So we have to do both. So letting go is a foundational practice that I recommend. And I'll conclude by saying that if you want to know, if you're saying, I'm not even sure, after all of that, I'm not even sure how to let go. I just didn't get it. It didn't make sense to me. Okay, then fair enough. So if you want, here's something that you can do every day that will help train you how to let go. And this will be helpful for everybody. So no matter what you do, this will be helpful for you. Take a few minutes, and I don't recommend that you do a long, it should not be uncomfortable. It should be totally comfortable for you. Just a few minutes, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And just set a timer and just sit and watch your breath. Do that every day. If you can, you'll have more likely greater success if you do it same place, same time every day. But if not, then just do it sometime each day and somewhere each day. And like I say, it should be comfortable for you. So if you said, oh, more is better, and you set your timer for 20 minutes, and then you're just squirming, uncomfortable, and your mind's just going and going and going. Don't do that to yourself. Try 5 minutes. You'll be much more comfortable. If you're feeling very uncomfortable with 5 minutes, try 3 minutes. Because you'll get the benefits if it's sustainable and you actually do it. You will not get the benefits if it's a great idea that you don't do, right? It's a great idea, but if you don't do it because you've told yourself you should do 20 minutes, but you won't do 20 minutes because that's too uncomfortable, then guess what? You don't get the benefits. So just whatever you can actually make work for you that's comfortable, it should, because in order for it to be sustainable, you actually want to be able to enjoy it. You're not going to do it if you're finding it miserable. If it's, oh, I should do it. Yeah, but you're not going to do it. You're not going to do, you should do many things that you don't do. So don't do that to yourself. What a waste of time and energy. Just what will you do? Do that. What can you enjoy? Do that. And then you'll see that you will learn through that practice how to let go. You'll and if you have questions about that, once you've been practicing it, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. So for now, I'm going to wrap up this talk. And for those who are here live, we'll stay on for the group coaching, and I can respond to all the questions that are coming through. So before I stop recording, let me just say a few words to the people who will watch this on YouTube. Number one, if you are interested in joining these meetings live, you're welcome to do so. You can get the information for that by signing up for my newsletter on my website, and I'll provide a link to that in the description. What else? There's a couple of other things I'm going to forget about. There's some other thing that I've forgotten about, but I know it's there, but I've forgotten about it. And then the other thing is, if you're interested in a supportive program that will help you to organize a simple, sustainable routine in your life that will help you get good results, that integrates things like letting go, among many other things, then you might be interested in the Manifesting Truth program that I offer. It is a paid program, and you can find more about that at my website, and I'll provide a link directly to that in the description. Yeah, that's all I can think of for now. So blessings to you all, and I'm going to end this recording now.